Alright, so I'm going to be replacing the screen on this Dell XPS 139350. So first thing we're going to want to do is remove all the screws from the bottom. So these are T5 or Torx 5 screws, alright? And you want to keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shapes, and lengths. The way I do that is you see this pattern, I just put them on my desk in that pattern, alright? With the head of the screw face down so that way it stays doesn't roll around. Okay, so I just remove all of these screws. Right, I'm going to be replacing the screen, but if I see other components on here that are replaceable, I will mention those as well. Please try and watch these videos all the way through before attempting, because sometimes there's important steps that people will kind of assume they know, but then they'll leave things out. So it's important, watch the videos all the way through, alright? Okay, then underneath here, there's a PH0 screw, alright, or JIS0. So we're going to remove that as well. Right, once you remove those screws, these Dell computers, usually the easiest way to remove them, or the covers, is you open it, and then there's the gap here. What you do is you get your fingernails in the gap. If you don't have fingernails, you can try with pry tools, but this is the easiest way. Fingernails in the gap, thumbs on the back, and then you pull with your fingernails and push with your thumb, just like that. There you go. Pops open. You can close the screen. Alright, usually the back is a little bit more tricky. You kind of have to wiggle it around, right? Just like that, and there we go. So we got the cover off. Okay, we'll set that aside. So we're going to be replacing the screen. There is a M.2. This looks like a SATA SSD. Let me confirm if there's confirmation on here. Yep, it's a M.2 SATA SSD here. And then there's the wireless card here. We are going to be replacing the screen, so we're going to remove that. The M.2 SSD and the wireless card. I am going to undo the connectors there as well because I have to undo the antennas. I think someone worked on this before because there's supposed to be a camera connector connected here, but last time I checked, I think I might have already uploaded this, but the cable is trapped underneath the motherboard. Maybe I just looked at it and didn't actually do a video of this one, but we're going to do that. So if yours looks different because somebody already worked on this, keep that in mind. Yeah, it's very likely that yours is going to look different. So anyways, I'm going to disconnect the battery first. So whenever working on the screen, you want to disconnect the battery. What I do, let me zoom in, is I get my fingernails in the little raised part of the battery here. Sorry. And then I kind of just wiggle my fingernails like this and it pops out, alright? And just like that. If you can't do that, you might have to kind of grab the cable, but it's not like even here, so it's really hard to pull it in the way that I did by just like doing that. Alright, so anyways, we're going to zoom back out and we're going to go ahead and start removing components for the screen. So I don't know why this thermal pad is here like that and this tape is here. So yours is likely going to be different. That's kind of strange. Alright. So we are going to use, it looks like PH1 and PH0 screws. So right now we're going to use the PH1 screwdriver and we're going to undo the screw for the wireless card. You do want to check yours that the screws get a good fit because again, someone worked on this before. I don't know who. These are customer computers, so I don't know what's going on. And anyways, we're gonna pull the antenna out. So let me zoom in to make this a little bit easier. To get the antenna out, go at the tail of the connector and then just pull it up. Alright, you can actually, well actually you can't do it with the screw in because that metal bracket, but anyways, we're going to pull out the black cable same way. Maybe I'll do it this way to make it easier. If you want, you can put your finger or fingernail underneath as close to the tail as possible and then push the wireless card down just like that and it pops it out. The wireless card, we can leave it there because we are going to be putting that back. And then, yeah, the camera cable, somehow they got it stuck underneath there. I don't know if they took the whole motherboard apart to do that, but they might have because it's trapped under there. Alright, so anyways, we are now going to remove the other stuff here. Okay, So let's go ahead and disconnect this. One thing I forgot to mention before removing the LCD or LVDS connector, after you want to disconnect the battery first, open up the computer, press and hold the power button for about 10 to 15 seconds to drain any power from the capacitors or the board. That way it will reduce the risk of damaging the main board, okay? Or sometimes it can also burn out the backlight of the screen or the backlight circuit on the motherboard. Alright, so there we go. Alright, we're going to remove the 2 screws here holding this metal bracket on top. Again, if yours looks different or the screwdriver doesn't work well, you might want to double check because somebody worked on this before and I don't know if they move screws around. Alright, so we got this metal cover up. There's adhesive, so you kind of got to pull it out of the way. Okay, and then once you do that, make sure that the adhesive isn't stuck to the connector here. Let me zoom in a little bit to make this easier to see. Alright, so to remove this connector, I get underneath this tab, and then this is a pull tab. I usually have trouble just pulling on this tab. It doesn't come out so easily, so what I do is I get my fingernail underneath the connector and I pry it up just like that. You don't want to use too much force. It should come out pretty easily. Am I going to have to remove the battery to do this? It looks like it. So let's take the battery out as well. Alright, so let's remove these big screws here. Have to use 2 hands. Okay, oops. Alright. That screw, remove this screw. Alright. And then there's a tiny screw up there that you have to use a PH0 or JIS0 screwdriver. Okay. Again, keep in mind, keep the screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. If you mix them up, you can cause damage to the computers. Okay. There we go. Alright, so let's see. We should be able to lift this battery out. Okay. I'm just going to move it out of the way. I don't want to take it out completely. There's the speaker wire here that's taped down to it. So, yeah. So this connects both speakers. Then you got the CMOS or the BIOS battery right here. And these connectors, you kind of just grab the wings and wiggle them just like the battery connector. Alright, so I'm just moving this out of the way so I can get the screen cable out. Alright, I'm going to have to lift the fan up slightly. There we go. And there's this adhesive tape underneath, so I'm going to use this to kind of get it out. Okay, just get underneath this tape and kind of twist this tool to get it up. Once you get enough of it up, you can peel it off just like that. Alright, and then we're going to go underneath. Let me zoom in actually. Sorry if you couldn't see earlier. And then basically lift up the fan again, pull that out. Right, there's this connector that's also attached to the fan. Same like the others, you just grab the edges and just wiggle the connector as you slowly pull and continue wiggling it. Alright, let me get my finger back in there. Just keep wiggling it, just keep wiggling it, and there you go, it pops out. Alright, get this cable out over to the side, and then it goes up out of this little gap here. There is some adhesive holding this down as well, so just peel that up. Okay, just like that, and then there's more adhesive here. Okay, so peel that off as well. Alright, there we go, and then there's a screw here holding this piece down, so we are going to take that out, and that's also using a PH0 or JIS0 screw. Okay, let's take that screw out. Alright, so this adhesive comes out now. Alright, so now we can see the screws under here and the screws on the other side. Let's zoom out. Alright, so what you want to do to remove the screens is, well, first let's kind of move this stuff back in. Let me zoom out more. You're going to have to stare at my legs a little bit. Okay, so what you do is you want to open the screen about 90 degrees, if not more. Hang the screen off the edge of the desk. Alright, and then now that you have it like this, so I actually open it as more than 90 degrees. We're going to take out the 2 screws holding these hinges in place. Alright. Make sure the antennas aren't in the way. There's also that camera cable that's trapped under there, as I mentioned earlier. And then on this side, same thing, remove the 2 screws holding this hinge in place. Okay. Just like that. Once you get those 4 screws out, you can normally just lift this thing out, but again, whoever worked on this before trapped this the camera cable under the board. So I am going to remove the DC jack connector here. Just same thing, wiggle the connector and it pops out. Alright, so there's one PH0 screw here underneath this part of the cable. I'm going to remove that. If I'm lucky, I should be able to lift the board up after removing this one screw. I don't know if I'm going to be lucky. Let's find out. Okay, so the screen is mostly lifting out, but again, that cable is stuck under there. I'm going to remove this screw here as well. Okay, I don't know who worked on this, but they were probably just like screw it and just left it. There we go. So the cable is coming out, I hope. There we go. Okay, and there we go. So we got that camera cable out. That's the broken one. And again, I'm not sure how they broke this. I think they said they put pressure on it or their cat bit on it or something. So be careful with cats around your computers. They will like rub their fangs or on it and kind of break stuff, so be careful with that. Anyways, got the replacement screen. It's kind of greasy on it, but what you want to do, oops. Okay, to open these, you want the hinges opened all the way. So what I'm going to do, I like to use a T8 or Torx 8-bit. Alright, so you just take the Torx 8-bit, get in one of the screw holes, and then you can use that to kind of pry the hinge up. Alright, so I'm going to do this a little bit first. I need to adjust my hand and just pry the hinge open. Alright, same thing on both sides, just like that. Alright, so we're going to put that away. Alright, let's actually put back the motherboard screws first before we forget. Alright, one there, and the other one here. Okay, so now we're going to put the hinges in place. You want to keep the cables up and out of the way. And then we drop the hinges into place. There we go. Alright, now we're going to put back the hinge screws. And it's always a good idea to add some thread locker to these. Okay, so I always like to add a tiny bit of thread locker to the hinge screws, because if they come loose, they can cause a lot of damage. Okay, so I'm going to just add a little thread locker to this. Okay, not much, just a tiny bit. Get the screw in and tighten that down. Alright, just do this with all 4 screws. Okay, make sure the camera cable and the wireless antennas are out of the way. Just like that. Okay. Right, make sure the screen thing is lined up. It down all the way and get the last screw. Do the same thing. Alright, now that we got all the screws in place, we can close the laptop screen. Okay, we'll just close this up. Flip this back around. Okay, let's zoom back in. Alright, so now, oops, make sure the battery doesn't plug itself back in. Alright, so now we're going to put back the battery screws. Alright, just like this. Well, actually, I should not put back the battery screws yet because we are going to have to tuck the LCD or LVDS cable back under. Okay. So let me actually pull the battery back out of the way. Okay. Since the battery looked like it touched, I'm going to actually open it up and press and hold the power button again just to be safe. Okay, probably don't need to hold it that long because the computer wasn't turned on, but still 10 to 15 seconds if you want to be safe. Why is there junk in there? Alright, there we go. Close that up. Get the cable. Line this part up again. Alright, and get that screw and put that back in. That is a PH0 screw. Oops, I had the right screwdriver already. PH or JIS 0 screw. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. Make sure this sticker thing stays in place. Just like that. Alright, make sure to get this connector. The tape isn't going to stick, so don't worry about it. Oh man, it looks like this one actually has a broken connector here. So, what is that? Card reader power? Why is there a card reader power cable here? I don't understand. Yeah, that's broken, so I can't do anything with that. I'm probably gonna have to contact the person and let them know because this one has this cable and it's fine. Yeah. So anyways, I'm gonna contact the seller about that. I'm gonna have to take a picture of it later. For now, I'm gonna just install it and make sure their screen works because they've been waiting for a while and they probably need it. So I'll test it. I'm not sure if that really is just for a card reader. That'd be kind of weird. Alright, so let's get this cable back in. Alright, and then just line this up. Oops, line that up. Push that back in place. Doesn't seem to want to stay down. There we go. Make sure it's connected completely. Put this metal latch back over the top. Get the screws. I think these are PH1 screws, if I remember correctly. Yep. Alright, and then tighten those down. Okay, now this one, yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Make sure the battery connector stays out of the way. We can actually put the battery screws back now. If that is a card reader thing, I'll see what the seller will do. If they'll do a partial refund, depending what the customer wants. If it's cheap enough, they might prefer to just use a USB card reader whenever they need to read the SD cards. But I don't know if that helps with USB power and stuff too. I guess I can test a SD card with it just to see. But I'll have to get their password, so I can't do that right now. Alright, so we'll get that in. Okay, now let's plug in the camera cable. Okay, so camera cable and the wireless antennas. Camera cable just goes like this. There's a little dot on it actually to say which side's up, but you can see the connector will look like that. You don't want to put the side with the rainbow cables. Okay, so get that lined up. Go, and then pinch the two together just like that. Get that cable back under this little gap. There we go. Alright, then the wireless antennas here. Okay, white cable. Line it up. The way you know it's lined up, if you have it on right, it will actually catch and it will stay in place even if you rub your finger over the top. Then you can push the antenna down. There we go. Same thing with the black wire. Okay. There we go. Make sure these wires stay in place and don't damage anything. Oops, I accidentally pushed on the tail and it released. Okay. Put that antenna back in place. There we go. This wire, the camera cable, is kind of in the way. There we go. Alright, then we'll get the metal bracket here. Put that back over the top. Get that screw. Stay in place, please. There we go. Get that screw in. And tighten it down. There we go. I think that might actually be a PH1 screwdriver. Yep. There we go. And then reattach the charge port, of course. And pinch those two together. There we go. So you got everything back in place. Make sure to reconnect the battery. Sorry if I went off view. Reconnect the battery, of course. Pinch the two together. And there we go. Now we can put the cover back on if you want. I don't know where this came from, but I'm going to just, I guess, put it back where I saw it. Right here. Okay, we'll put this cover back on. Make sure it lines up. Everything snaps in place. Oh, that's right. I do need to take a picture of the internal thing. So, I mean, you get the idea. Put the screws back in. I'm going to turn this on. I need to take a picture of that connector just to show them. Okay, this is turning on. Let's see if the screen comes on. There we go. And the screen looks good. So that's pretty much all there is to this. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. All that's left is put back the screws, of course. But yeah, alright, bye.